I stand out here in the wonders of the unknown at Hadley, I try to realize there's a fundamental truth to our nature. Man must explore. And this is exploration at its greatest.
An explosion of unmanaged devices is creating a new attack landscape that companies aren't prepared for. In a few years, there will be over 50 billion devices traditional security products can't see. Armis detects suspicious behavior and compromised devices in any environment, including medical, OT, enterprise and more. Because Armis sees every device, every connection, everything. And Armis won't disrupt business operations because it's completely agentless and passive. Learn more at armis.com today.
I'm not sure about hell. We're on a highway to Warsaw. Welcome to the whole conference, Robert Żelazo.
Hello, good morning. Welcome from the highway to hell, and actually from almost highway to Warsaw, Poland. Yeah, that's a good kind of music. So yeah, AC/DC, great stuff.
I'm glad you like it. I also announced to you that we have Renato from Real Security here in the studio as well, who is very happy to be joining in this opening little conversation with you.
Robert.
Hey Renato, good to see you.
How are you?
Good. Yeah, it's been some time since we saw each other face to face. So I hope that next year.
And I think it was you coming to Laszko, where our house band, me, David, and Alan played, and exactly Highway to Hell. We had a party on the pool.
Exactly.
You were at that time. You were still with FireEye, if I can remember.
Yeah, I was still with FireEye then, and these parties in Laszko will be the ones I'll remember forever. So yeah, missing that.
Yeah, me too. Sorry for this environment today. We are doing all the best we can to somehow make it similar to live event.
Yeah, you're doing a great job. So the opening was fantastic. The live band, the formula is really great. So congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Well, we want you to feel, really together. Actually, I was listening to your opening promo. You talk about looking for suspicious behavior. You've got a lot of job to do here. There's so much suspicious behavior going on.
Can you imagine?
It must be really difficult for you, though, too. I mean, doing presentations this way is not so comfortable as actually having a physical audience in front of you.
Yeah, there is always this aspect of adrenaline missing, jumping on the stage. I remember the hostesses with the counters, with the timing when you were heading to the end of your presentation. That was something that was really, really nice. I remember I was extending my presentation deliberately just to be sure to witness that experience. And that's something I'm missing this year, for sure. But, this is the way we are working for the last few months. So we are used to that, yeah.
I think the floor is yours. It's time for you to give your words of advice in your presentation. Robert Żelazo.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So once again, welcome everybody. It's a great pleasure, as always, to be part of RISC conference. I think it's 14th year this time, or even 15th. Renato can correct me, but it's amazing conference, and I'm always
nice. I think we could use this buzz expression.
Part of it. All right. So Armis is a pretty new company. We are 5 years on the market. But still, being pretty new startup based in California, in Silicon Valley, the market capitalization of the company is almost $2 billion. So what we are doing, it looks like it's really interesting to the investors and also to the customers. And why, I'll tell you today. So with Armis, we are covering three kind of problems. The first problem is the growth of the unmanaged devices. And by unmanaged devices, what I mean is this red area here. I'm talking about over 25 billion unmanaged devices. What kind of devices can it be? It can be voice over IP telephony, switches, cameras, printers, the medical document, the medical devices, Bluetooth devices, smart TVs, air conditioning controllers, smart lighting, you name it. These are the devices where basically you cannot install any agent, you cannot view the logs of these devices, and basically you cannot scan them. You wouldn't even want to scan medical device because the risk of scanning this device is that you can basically make it stop working. So you don't want to scan these devices. So completely unmanaged devices. And this is something which we as Armis are focusing on discovering these devices and also discovering the risks associated with these devices being connected to your network. But we also see and manage the risk of the devices marked in yellow here, which can be managed technologically, because you can install agents on smartphones, tablets, the laptops, but from the legal perspective, you cannot do this because they are not owned by you as a company. So, for example, these can be bring your own devices, the devices that your employees are bringing to your network, to your company, and there are their own devices connecting to your network. So this is also interesting, that this yellow part is also interesting to see what devices are in your network and what is the traffic associated with them, so that basically you can see what are the risks that these devices are bringing. But we also see the typical normal devices like the regular PCs, laptops, servers that are owned by you as a company. But this problem of the growing number of unmanaged devices, this is something which we are focusing on. And this huge growth of unmanaged devices brings something which basically breaks the traditional security program. So the thing is that, for example, with unmanaged devices, you cannot do the asset inventory because you cannot install the agents on the devices. You cannot scan them. As I mentioned, you don't want to scan the OT devices because you can basically make them stop working. Then if you cannot do the inventory, you cannot also do the network segmentation, because how can you segment something which you don't see? You also face a lot of peer-to-peer connections like Bluetooth, for example, which for segmentation is very hard to achieve to address such kind of devices. The third thing which you cannot do with these unmanaged devices is vulnerability management, because vulnerability management is relying heavily on the agents and on the logs, which the unmanaged devices like IoT devices, for example, are not bringing. They are not generating logs, and you cannot install agents on them. And lastly, the incident response, as you have no agents, no logs, no context associated to unmanaged devices, this is something which also is very hard to achieve. So yeah, these are the four areas which are making it very difficult addressing the first problem. And during our POVs, proof of values, the tests, and also the production deployments, we have seen a lot of interesting cases. For example, we could see the compromised smart TV in the boardroom in the conference room that was actually used as a ransom pivot. It was attacked, infected by ransomware, and it was trying to attack every device in the proximity using Bluetooth and using Wi-Fi connection. And it was like pinging every milliseconds all the devices around, broadcasting, trying to infect them with ransomware. We could see the compromised tablet in the conference room that was streaming the video when the meetings were taking place, the management meetings were taking place. It was streaming this video to some strange addresses somewhere in China. Also, the live cameras, the internet cameras, CCTVs, were used as a botnet. So the hackers were not stealing the video stream from these devices, but they were using these devices as a regular network devices, unmanaged devices that were used as a botnet pivots. So they were infecting other devices and were basically the part of the botnet. And the last but not the least, the wireless printer were turned into the Pineapple device. And Pineapple device is basically a Wi-Fi hotspot that is used by the hackers to get access to your network. So you had the wireless printer in your office, which was actually the Wi-Fi, the Pineapple Wi-Fi device. There were also manufacturing plants that were attacked by ransomware. And also we saw in one of the hospitals, we saw the compromised infusion pump. And actually this infusion pump was compromised by the malware at the time when it was connected to the patient. So you cannot quarantine this device. You cannot scan it. You cannot block it because it was connected to the patient. So yeah, these examples are really hot, I have to say. And the hackers see this. They see this huge window of opportunity in terms of unmanaged devices. And that's why FBI, the National Security Agency, Microsoft, they were issuing a lot of warnings, a lot of reports, asking actually the customers to take a look at these unmanaged and IoT devices as the hackers are targeting these devices. So these were the really, really hot topics. So this was the first problem, the problem of unmanaged, the hugely growing number of unmanaged devices. The second problem which Armis is addressing is the convergence between IT worlds and OT worlds. In the past, you could always say that, hey, my SCADA network, my OT is disconnected. There is no internet connectivity. Well, this is no longer the case. You want to have the updates. You want to have the remote connectivity for the administrator, especially now during the COVID times, where the administrators cannot go to the office and cannot be there. They still want to have the access. So you are granting them the access to your OT network. But this introduces a lot of risk, because if you open some ports on firewall and you feel that you are safe, I mean, I can guarantee that there is a way for the hackers also to get to your SCADA, to your OT networks. They can do it attacking the CCTV cameras, for example. They can do it also attacking the regular other kind of devices like printers, for example, or some kind of air conditioning controllers, for example. They can also use the iPads to get to your network and basically attack it. So the NSA, the CISA, as a result of this, recommended immediate actions in July this year to reduce the risk which is associated with OT technologies and control systems. So the second problem, which is the convergence between IT and OT worlds, this is also widely seen and accepted by the agencies like this. And the third problem that Armis is addressing is the fragmented security systems. There is a lot of security systems that you as a customers are facing and are working with. Just a question, or the question that can be the eye-opener. Do you know how many security systems, separate security systems, are used in the average company worldwide which has 10,000 employees? So 10,000 employees company, how many separate security systems they are using? It's 76. 76 separate security systems used by the company at the size of 10,000 employees. So quite a lot. So these solutions are siloed. They are not exchanging information, and it's very hard to work with these kind of separate siloed security solutions when something wrong happens. So, for example, what makes it difficult is addressing and asking such questions like, is my CMDB database clean and accurate? So is my inventory clean? Do I have the list of devices correct? Well, if I have the devices which are managed, where I can have the agents on, I believe my list is valid. But what about the devices where I cannot have any agents, like these printers, like the cameras, like Bluetooth devices, the mobile phones? I mean, this is hard to achieve. The question is like, how many laptops do I have? How many unmanaged devices do I have? Do I have the endpoints with the up-to-date valid antivirus or EDR installed? Or what application versions do I have on separate devices which are unmanaged, which are connecting to my network, but actually I'm not owning these devices? What device had a specific IP address a month ago when we had an issue? Well, these are the valid questions, right? Or how many cloud or virtual assets do I have? Or what devices in my environment could be affected by the security advisor or vulnerability? So, I mean, if you cannot install agents, if you don't see the logs of the devices, these questions are almost impossible to be addressed. And especially if you have 76 or whatever number of separate security solutions. So, recapping, summarizing, the main three problems which Armis is addressing is the growth of unmanaged devices. And it doesn't matter if these are IT devices or OT devices or IoT devices. The huge growth of these devices is the problem number one. Then the convergence between IT world and OT worlds, so opening OT to the outside world. One example, during one of the tests with the company in Switzerland, we had an interesting scenario, I have to admit. In one of their SOCs, they had a huge smart TV, like really the biggest TV you could ever imagine. And this was just to bring them additional visibility over their OT network. The thing is that since they introduced this TV in their OT network, in the SOC actually, they started having problems with the network itself. And after they connected Armis, it turned out that basically the smart TV was pinging every few seconds the devices around and the Wi-Fi for the streaming, for the media streaming services. So, HBO, Netflix, the smart TV didn't have these features turned off. So actually it was introducing a lot of noise to the OT network. And these are the things which we can discover during the test. And then the third problem is the security complexity. So these are the three main problems. And actually Armis is doing this by addressing three aspects. First of all, when you install Armis, it discovers all the assets, everything that is connecting to your network. And it doesn't matter if this is through the cable, through Ethernet, through Wi-Fi, or through radio protocols, Bluetooth or any other protocols, because Armis is integrated with the switches, but also with the wireless LAN controllers. So it does inventory of all the devices that are connecting to your network. And secondly, it is identifying the risks which these devices are bringing, because Armis is working on the real life copy of the traffic that is getting from the switch, from the span port. So it can see that, for example, the Wi-Fi printer is not used as a Wi-Fi printer. It is acting as a pineapple, pretending to be the Wi-Fi device. Or it can see that the cameras are actually transmitting some strange video stream to the IP addresses, which it was supposed not to do. So we are seeing that the devices, which we categorized before as the specific devices that have specific characteristics, are not working as they were supposed to work. And then if we see the case like this, we can do the enforcement. We can do the quarantine of this device, or we can block it on firewall or the NAC solution. So automated response, the enforcement of the policies through the integrations with SOC, with CM, with firewall or NAC solutions. So the three things that Armis is doing: discovery, the risk analysis, and automation of the enforcement. And just below, there are just examples of the official customers which we can quote. And just to give you the feeling of the scale which we are addressing, the biggest customer worldwide is Oracle. Oracle is 135,000 employees company, 135,000 companies, employees worldwide. So having 135,000 employees, just guess how many devices Armis is managing at Oracle in Armis database. 5 million devices. 5 million devices in Armis database for the company which is slightly over 100,000 employees. Wow, that's a lot, right? All right, so how Armis is doing this? So Armis is introducing a collector. This is the hardware collector, 1U that you put in a rack, and you connect it to the span port of your master switch. As simple as that. Installation can take from 5 minutes to 1 hour. You connect to the span port of the master switch, and you redirect the one directional copy of the traffic from the master switch. And since the moment when Armis collector gets the copy of the traffic from span port or from tap or from mirroring, it starts building the inventory just by analyzing the copy of the traffic. So Armis is not using any agents. It is not installing any agents on anything. It is also doing passively analysis of the copy of the traffic. This is it, just analyzing the copy of the traffic. When it sees what traffic goes through the network to the devices and from these devices, it can then query the Armis device knowledge base and Armis threat detection engine to see if the inventory was done well. So if indeed the device which we discovered is a CCTV camera, if this is coming from Samsung, if this is this and this model, and we get these attributes from the copy of the traffic only. This is unbelievable. And what is also important is that Armis collector, which is in your network, that is working on a copy of the traffic, and this is this hardware appliance, it is removing all the private data. We are not analyzing SSL traffic, for example. It is removing all the private data, all the private payloads, and just focusing on the metadata, on anonymized metadata. This is using this anonymized metadata by querying Armis device knowledge base and threat detection engine. So there is no private data that is getting to Armis knowledge base or Armis threat detection engine, which is, by the way, hosted at AWS in Frankfurt, so in European Union. So just to also give you the aspect of how much data is analyzed locally on a collector versus this metadata, the private metadata that is sent to Armis Cloud, it is 10,000 to 1. So 10,000 bytes that the collector is analyzing locally is just giving 1 byte that is anonymized, and this metadata is then queried to Armis knowledge base. So this is how it works. Installation is, I would say, up to 1 hour, so pretty fast. And then if Armis collector discovers that the specific device that is in your network is a camera, it can see the MAC address, the model, the maker of this device, what version, what operating system, what are IP connections that it's making. And also, the thing is that it is then comparing the behavior of this device to the history of the behavior of this device up to 3 months in the past. Also, in the same time, it's in parallel comparing the device, this behavior of this device to the same kind of cameras with your network, and also to the same kind of cameras in the world, this Armis knowledge base. And by the way, Armis has the biggest crowdsourced database of any devices in the world. It is 300 million devices with 15 million profiles of the devices. So this is the biggest IoT, IT, OT database of the devices that we have in the world, basically. So yeah, this is how it works. In parallel, comparing behaviors of the device itself in the past 3 months, the same devices, the same kind of devices in your network, and also the devices which are the same kind of worldwide in the database. All right, then just the example, the CIS, the critical security controls. Number one, what is the most important? Asset inventory. This is the example where the customer wanted to see what tablets they have, what hardware inventory, and specifically tablets the customer has. And here you can see all these tablets in the dashboard, which are displayed in Armis dashboard for the specific customer. Secondly, you do not only have the information what kind of tablets they are, but you can see exactly what are the computers, for example. What kind of device is it? Is it a router? Is it a laptop? What kind of model it is? The brand, MAC address, IP address, and in which geographical site it is connected. The CIS number 2, the software inventory. For example, in this case, the customer wanted to see in Armis dashboard what are the most used software applications that the customer is using in the network, and here is the list. For example, it's very important to see what versions of the specific application we have in our network. So in this case, Zoom. If the old version of Zoom is going down in terms of the usage and the new version is taking over, well, this is the answer from dashboard. And secondly, what are the applications that are installed on a specific computer? And this example, you can see the Box, the Chrome, Edge, the proxies, Office, Java, and you can see where the application was first seen by Armis, when it was last seen, what version it is. Everything you can see coming from the copy of the traffic. Also, what vulnerabilities in your network or subnet of your network you are seeing, which are the high scores, which are the lower scores. So this is the visibility you get from Armis. And also additional information from the vulnerability. This is the example of vulnerabilities which are connected to the network device, network equipment, the Cisco router. And you can see what kind of vulnerabilities I can have there. Well, actually, if you compare number of vulnerabilities in Windows versus the network devices, just imagine that there is 10 times more vulnerabilities connected to the network devices than you have for Windows. So congratulations, Microsoft. And the criticality of the vulnerabilities and the risks associated to the specific devices that Armis discovered in your network. Well, so I mentioned CIS controls, the critical security controls, and here you can see which of these 20 CIS controls Armis is covering. There is a bunch of them. And secondly, just for the end, there's also interesting thing that I should mention, the meter attack. Well, you can see 11 tactics here, and you can also see 81 techniques. Dark purple are the techniques which Armis is automatically discovering for you. So really, really interesting stuff. So this is I would say this is interesting slide. Make a copy of it. It's worth seeing. Well, I'm just wrapping up. Just one more thing. Oh, there is a secret character game with the letter R. I wonder what can it be? So, right. If you have any questions, I would like to welcome you to and invite you to our virtual booth at Risk. We are there present, addressing any questions. And well, I think I made it on time, 3 minutes before the deadline. So thank you very much for your time. Thanks.
Robert, very well done. 3 minutes that we could carry on talking. Renato is still with me. Maybe you have some words to say.
I would say amazing technology, really. I'm amazed where the technology is heading. So with technology like that, we might be closer to this, how people are saying criminals are always one step ahead of us, but with technologies like that, we are really close.
It amazes me the quantity.
Well, I think, Renato, you remember how we were introducing FireEye in the local market. It was also interesting technology. Well, many years ago when we were doing this together, I think it was like 6 years ago, right? It was also like an eye-opener. And I love technologies like this. I mean, these are the things that you cannot imagine that there will be new things like that. And this is the beauty of working with the technologies like this.
It's always exciting.
Okay, Robert, thank you very much indeed, as we said, for a very interesting presentation. And you've already pointed out that people can access you in the expo area, so I hope they do that.
Thank you very much.